Hey you! Yes you! Have you ever dealt with an idiot before? Jokes aside, almost everybody has dealt with an unprofessional individual in their life. Whether they refuse to listen, refuse to acknowledge arguments, or otherwise obstruct conversations. They sure do represent a pretty substantial threat to debate culture. How can one effectively deal with them? You don't. No, truly, if you can help it, don't interact with these kind of unprofessional people at all. They will ruin your day and you will be held accountable in the court of law for being even dumber than the person you so foolishly tried to interact with. If you can't go for the simple approach, you'll need the advanced and totally valuable skills I will teach you now. Firstly, try to understand the pattern that they exhibit. Do they not listen? Do they not acknowledge your arguments? Are they aggressive in their behavior? Understanding the pattern is vital for countering these kinds of people. If you're dealing with a non-listener, for example, you might be able to counter them with, instead of making statements, asking questions directed at pushing them towards a conclusion you like. Asking questions, and this also goes for I don't acknowledge your arguments because I don't care people, forces them to use their brain. People like this usually do not like using their brain. If you're dealing with someone that does acknowledge your arguments but thinks of their own arguments as superior and disregards your opinion as invalid, you can use a similar trick. Try to get into their head. What arguments do they value? Authority, factual arguments, experience? Regardless of what they choose, you'll invalidate their brain with the following strategy. Try to go along with whatever type you need to convince them. There is almost always similar evidence from your point of view, and if you are the non-idiot in the situation, yours will most likely be a whole lot stronger. If you can present a similar yet more valuable piece of evidence to these kinds of people, you might be able to take them by surprise. Especially when dealing with ideologically infected people, you may very well touch their remaining 2 brain cells through simply using their own kind of argument against them. This is generally a thing I want to highlight. When arguing with difficult people, you cannot rely on classical logical thought and reason. You must adhere to their twisted logic. Chances are, even using their twisted logic, their claims are easily disprovable, just no one has tried yet, since most people default to arguing by the classical logical thought. Lastly, one thing I find important to notice: this crash course may work, it may also very well fail and get you in trouble with your local narcissistic businessman. Regardless of the more than questionable quality of this lesson, try to generally not interact with these kind of people until necessary. While you can argue with them, don't expect an ignorant person to become thoughtful just because they heard something smart. Ideologically poisoned people are especially hard to convince of anything, and don't even get me started on religious fanatics. If you want to take one thing away from this, don't be unprofessional and argue against things just for the sake of it. Spare society the headache and me my time. Thank you for tuning in for today's Rex Capsule video, and see you next time. Maybe. Probably. I'm not gonna go down this godforsaken rabbit hole again. Thank you.